Welcome to One Foot in Both Worlds, keeping it real with Tania and Nette. We are, we had a little pause, I think, between things, so we're back again. Um, we've had a lot going on, including an absolutely, what I call super cool, but it's also super complex and super challenging download come through. And part of the reason we've had a pause is because the aim was to get that information up, and we've been able to do that. So we're here today to launch the new piece and explain to you what it's about. And yeah, but before I keep going, how are you, Tania? Hello. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm good. I'm fighting a bit of a cold, not feeling super great right now. Um, I'm gonna let you sort of explain the start of the new piece, and we've also got some pretty interesting electronic stories, but I just want to say that and give you a shout out. I have two shout outs. One, we started with our new intro. Um, it was done by a friend of mine. He works and has his own company called Fresh Ears Audio. I actually met him because he has like a handyman business. He's called the Helpful Hubby Handyman. His name is Alex Whitaker. And so he also did this music for us. He was doing some work at my house. So I just wanted to give him that shout out. Thank you so much
It's
for the.
It sounds like he has one foot in both worlds too.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. And he listens to our podcast as well. And he really, really, really enjoys it. So I think that's awesome. And then the other shout out that I wanted to give is Nette, you deserve so much credit. This last or most recent download is epic and pretty phenomenal. Your gifts and abilities as a medium are absolutely exceptional. You impress me all the time. And you're a beautiful, kind-hearted, like wonderful person to work with. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate you.
Thank you. I don't like praise very much, but I do appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
and
it's the
I just
combined energy I think that we have that makes one foot in both worlds so strong. Like this information that we are getting is it's blown my mind and it's blown yours. And I think that's because somehow spirit put us together. And I
I
really
know they
believe
knew.
this was part of our purpose.
I absolutely believe it's part of our purpose, and I mean, go in to sort of talk about it because I think it's funny. Like Nettie's getting this download. She's like, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful and wonderful." And I was having a temper tantrum. So,
Okay.
so go
I'm
ahead.
gonna I'm
Wonderful
gonna do
Nettie.
a very, very brief overview. You like it is there's 5 videos that will follow this that we've already put together. And it's quite simple, but it's complex. So the videos, if you can watch them rather than listen to them, it's worthwhile because I have tried to put diagrams up as well. But the first download that came through, so this happens while asleep, was on kind of the dream state and the parallel lives. And it was like, oh, wow. And then the next one, which was quite huge, was the subconscious. And then the conscious, and then the frequency. And memory was in there too. It was just like a whole complex way of how spirit and our physical body actually interact. And we've been doing this the whole time. We've been talking about this. It very much relates when we look back to our first download. So if you haven't watched series 2, the download that we had with the triangles about mind, body, diet, those sorts of things, and the role of sleep. It's like they're taking the next thing, the sleep, and they're actually going to the next full level and saying, okay, you guys are, in our case, quite gifted mediums, intuitives, but you're still going to learn this. And interestingly, I saw 4 puzzle pieces come up when I saw it. They kept showing me that visual, and they would sort of take a piece away. And as I went to what I called lecture rooms, because I see these in my night, and they're almost like I can go back in and get the information, and there's like books and books of information, but I've got to put that down into a small thing. So it's a lot more than what these videos are. And so that's why Tania and I will talk about that more after you've digested what it is. But I thought it was called the missing piece. And every time I'd go to write that, I'm like, no, it's the new piece. And I think it is because some of this will just be, oh, yeah, I've already got that. I already understand that. And some of it will be that one new piece that just clicks in for you, or two new pieces that click in for you that go, oh, hang on a minute. This has grown my understanding. And now I've got to deal with that growth, and sometimes it's a big leap or a big jump. And you're just like, whoa, how does that interact in my life? I don't know if I've summed that up very well because it's a complex thing, but I put them all did the videos, and then I uploaded them so Tanya could actually go through them, because what Spirit wanted to do was get them on paper, get them to Tanya, because that's the one foot in both worlds, both of us actually understanding it, and then we start to digest and see how that runs. So that's where we're at now. We've got them done, and Tanya, how did you enjoy getting these?
So this has been really interesting for people that follow along. They know that I always end up being the living example. I'm the intuitive that sort of lives the life, and I have a plethora of life experience that I sort of bring to vulnerably sort of to the table into the podcast. So some might be like, oh my God, what a blessing. It's not.
You're so relatable. People love you because you're so relatable.
Oh God. Okay, so I'm just going to be really honest about how this kind of rolled out for me. So Nettie sends me a message. She's like, I got this cool download. It was really wonderful. And I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome. And I am so happy for Nettie. Please don't misunderstand any of this. Nettie is a beautifully one of the most gifted. I would say she is one of the most gifted person that I've ever met. And this is nothing against Nettie, but so we sit down. She's like, oh, I got this cool. I'm like, oh, awesome. I can't wait. Let's sit down and sort of and talk about it. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm getting a cold. No, I'm not getting a cold. I'm getting healed. Anyways, we sit down and we start doing this recording, and Nettie's explaining this, and I'm, sort of paying attention to Spirit as we're recording this podcast. You guys are never going to see this podcast because I look like a tool in it. So she's talking, and I'm tuning into Spirit, and I'm kind of getting like crickets, but like I'm trying to sort of process. And at the end of it, I Nettie usually uploads, I listen to it, and that's sort of how it goes. So I kind of thought I was understanding it through the first podcast. Then by the end, I was like, yeah, I just need to process, because I could see that it was just like, something jammed the gears.
Yeah.
Right. And it was making sense. And I'm like, I hear you, but like, I need time for this, almost like to, like you're okay with the sponge getting water on it, but you got to wait for the water to sink into the sponge in order for it to be effective in whatever you're doing. So I get off, and like we finished doing the recording, and Nettie looks at me. She goes, "You look like you're gonna flip the fucking table." I'm like, I am. I'm so mad, Nettie.
There was a time in the video where I watched it, your energy just changed. And it was just like, oh, now she's angry. It's just like, oh, okay. Let's finish up.
And I was like, know why I'm so mad right now. But for start, and again, bless your heart, Nettie, you are such a sweet and wonderful human. She gets to listen to my temper tantrums, and she does it so lovingly. But I got off, and at first the frustration for me, I was like, why? And this is very relevant. Why? Because I believe I have the abilities that you have.
You have.
Like, why? No. Why am I not getting this initial information? This does not make sense to me. I'm like, Nettie, I literally feel like I'm a little puppy chasing after you. Like, what are we doing next, Nettie? What's up next, Nettie? Right? And she's laughing, and I'm just like, that just frustrates me. Why is that happening? And I'm like, trust me, Nettie, my problem is not with you. It's with Spirit. We get off. I'm pissed. I'm like, honest to God, Spirit, like, what more do you want from me here? Like, seriously, what more do you want? I'm pretty sure I'm a good student, living my life. I'm doing all the things, like doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing. What is going on? So this happened for a couple days. And I re-listened to that, the podcast you're never going to see, a couple times, and then it started to sink in. And then I went to bed that night, got up the next morning, and was like, oh, I get it. But I didn't fully get it, even though I thought I did, because what spirit was then doing was giving me more information, like almost like examples, and how this information integrates into your life, how this information has okay, so sorry, I lost.
While you get your thoughts back again, I'll just while you get your thoughts back again, I just want to say something. Um, just so that you know, with what you were just saying about you having to digest it, I think that's the point of the symbolism that they had with the pieces, like with actually pieces going together like a jigsaw, because it was exactly the same for me. I know you, you think that I just get it and it's like, oh, I took days to process all of this as well, each one. And that's why I think they did. It was almost 3 days between each video. And it was because it needed to be processed. So when you're watching these, it comes out with parallel lives, subconscious, and then the summary, which I thought was really weird because then or maybe the conscious and then the summary and then frequency, right? And the order just didn't kind of make sense. But I realized that we need to integrate it into our body and into our thought pattern, into our life, into everything, in pieces. And so the way that you're going back and going, oh, I've got it because you got an extra piece. And then you go, oh, I got it again. And I think we're going to keep getting extra pieces in
I
life.
agree.
That's just how it is. And I talked to Andy about, in particular, the subconscious one, when you look at that, and parallel lives. And before I'd done the next one, and it was the next day that we got back together again, and we're in doing this weeding work. And he's like, you know what you said yesterday? That makes so much difference. It was like we had started the conversation and then a day had gone past and he just started it where it was again. I'm like, what are we talking about again? But
Yeah,
it made so much sense to his life, but he needed that 24 hours to process it.
yeah.
And he
And
said,
I have,
yeah, it's just opening up doors for
yes,
him. And I think that's what, I think you're not I don't think what you're going through is, I don't think anyone's not going to go through that to some degree, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah. And I, that's why I think that this introduction is really important. You guys need to realize that, or just maybe be forewarned so that you're forearmed that pieces of this might, I don't know what the word would be. How do I explain? I don't want to say
Irritate?
triggering, irritate you, or kind of trigger, like, for me, what it felt like is it triggered like an inner knowing. And then how it ended up kind of in my conscious feeling like, how did I not know this? Like, how have I gone all of these years without it? Is kind of what it ended up coming down to.
Because
And the key piece,
it feels so like we did know it. Like
yes,
I'm
that's
like,
what
I
I'm
think I've
trying
known
to
this my whole life,
say.
you know? But
Yes,
yeah,
that is exactly what I'm trying to say, is it triggers this thing inside of you that's like, we knew this all along, duh. I'm just now letting you in on it, you know?
yeah.
And yeah, it was an angering feeling. It was and then it was epiphany after epiphany after epiphany after epiphany, as they're kind of giving me the new pieces, but not new pieces, but the,
Your pieces. Yeah.
yeah,
Your
my
extra
pieces that
pieces.
I'm going to
Yeah.
be bringing to the table. And then also showing me my past and different experiences, and how we can sort of sit in different places in the conscious and the subconscious and the pineal and all of that. And so to me, like, one of the key takeaways of these videos is the pineal. And that's been very life changing for me. So I'm really excited to dive more into that. The other thing that I wanted to say is that when I did, like, her videos are lovely, your videos are lovely, and they're great. And when I did finally watch all of them, I get it. But take your time. This might make you angry, it might not, but it's really epic information and it is really important. So take your time and sleep on it, and it's going to sink in.
Yeah, and I think take that space, sit down for the half an hour. They're all about 18 to half an hour, I think, from memory. And I think just take your time with some quiet time to sit down and listen to that. And then if you want to listen to it again when you're driving in the car or something like that to get that processing through your head, that's fine. But the first time, if you can just sit down and watch it, because it is a lot to take in, and you almost need to be sitting in a calm kind of way to do it. It doesn't mean that you can't listen to it in other ways and then go back and take the time to watch it again. But it does need a few watchings. Like I hate watching anything that I do, and I watched these back. And I learnt things when I watched them back because you hear it rather than, well, I'm hearing it anyway, but it was like, oh yeah, okay, the importance of that. And I could see the importance of that. And yeah, and just it's what both Tanya and I referred to as simple, but so complex.
It is.
And it's that balance of those two things. And I think that's why it hits you in a weird way, because the simpleness of it is just like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But the complexity of it, of how that is now integrated into what I'm doing and what I'm doing forward and moving that thing. I think for everyone, by the end of it, they will be aligned more with spirit. I think they will be able to uh, be in touch more with their intuitive side. And I think
Yes.
that's important. I think
That's
you'll
what's
be better,
amazing about
yeah,
it.
better
You know what
intuitively
they,
from it.
yeah, you know what Spirit said to me is, okay, well, for starters, they said, as you were talking, I just have to write the other piece down so I don't forget. They said that the combined energy of Nettie and I comes through to the listeners. So it will help, I don't want to say raise your vibration, but it will help
It
hold that
does.
energy in
Yeah.
order for you to digest it. So I have to say, one thing I found is I actually had to listen. It helped me to get the new pieces of information that I was getting as I was listening to the podcast, because Nettie's and my combined energy comes through with that. So that will be helpful. The other thing that, and the analogy that they gave this new piece is that it's orthotics for the soul.
Oh.
So yeah, so like when you're walking and your foot can be shaped a little bit odd and it can put your whole back out, and but then you can just put this little orthotic like in your shoe and it lifts your arch just a tiny bit, and then all the back pain, everything sort of aligns. I haven't had that wonderful of an experience with orthotics, but that's what they called it.
Yeah.
And that is so true.
Yeah.
It is a new spirituality. It is a new piece of information to move forward for connecting to yourself, connecting to intuition, connecting to the conscious world, and in so much healthier of a way
Yeah.
with so much more information.
And interestingly, the first piece that came out was the dreams, and then it was the dreams in the parallel life. And I haven't done the dreams video. I've combined that with the parallel lives and things. I did one, but I'm actually going to do a tutorial, and I'll mention that in it. But it's really interesting because they said this is what will be coming out. They will be feeding this to others, like people. And interestingly, two of my favorite teachers or like peers both talked about dreams in the past week. And that's where this sort of starts. So it'd be really interesting to see how they receive this, to see whether they start talking about the parallel lives in a similar way, because it's actually the parallel lives is really cool because it is
It is.
putting it into a new perspective, and that's where it starts. But even the subconscious and the conscious and
But
the
it makes
pineal and
sense. Like I think it's fair to say it's such a complex topic. And I think that you did an absolutely beautiful job sort of breaking it down into sort of these bite-sized chunks to be able to make it digestible. The other funny piece, if you're good with me moving on, is
yeah.
the delay that happened. So as you guys know, Nettie and I always talk about sort of our electronics going, and then if we try to do something that spirit doesn't agree with, they jump in and kind of
They break shit.
yeah, and they're like, "Oh, cool, cool. So you tried to have a mind of your own. Nice. No, no, we're doing it this way." Right? And we're like, "Oh, okay, I guess. And we often will message each other and be like, I think they're fucking with us.
Yeah.
Sorry for my language, but I swear. And anyway, Nettie messages me. Oh, no, I was about to do my readings for clients, and my laptop's completely dead. I can't even turn it on. This laptop's maybe like 2 years old, completely dead, won't work. I'm like, what the heck? So I take it down to Best Buy and, to get it repaired. My entire hard drive broke down. Like my hard drive broke. I'm like, I literally just used this last night. Like, how does a
Yeah.
hard drive just break? So then Nettie messages and she's like, "You're not going to believe this. I have no internet. Like my internet completely went." I'm
Died.
like, "You're joking me." My hard drive in my laptop just died. So go ahead and tell your story because it's hilarious.
Yeah. So my son and I are sitting on the internet, da da da. It's a Saturday morning, and it just stopped. And so we went up to check it, and literally the modem had just no power to it, like zero power. So it wasn't just like it went. Anyway, I rang our uh, telecommunications company, and they said, "Oh, we can see that 11:11, which is quite interesting that they even mentioned the time. Your
Right?
internet just went stop. You've stopped using it." And anyway, they troubleshoot with me, but I had a very frustrating 2 weeks of trying to get this modem. So they said, "We'll send one to you." And then he rings me back 2 hours later. So I had to wait till the Monday to start with because it's a Saturday. They don't do anything till weekdays. And then he rings back and goes, "We've got this weird computer glitch and it's not letting them send you a modem. So I'll ring you tomorrow when it's fixed or this afternoon." Anyway, 2 days later, I ring them and they're like, "Oh, we're not quite sure what happened. I'll send one to you now." And so the girl sent me a modem. And then my phone starts ringing and I get a call back. And at the same time as my modem had gone, or maybe within the day, because I'm not sure, the my mobile phone stopped making noise. So I could listen to Spotify or a YouTube, but it wouldn't ring and it wouldn't make a ding when someone gave a message. So Telstra's calling me back, but it's not ringing. It's just happening on my phone. So if I could look over, I could see my phone light up. But if I wasn't near it, and we have really, really bad coverage in our house. Anyway, long story short, 3 times they sent me a modem and they didn't turn up. And they would ring me to say, "Oh, there's something weird on your system and the modem's actually not going to go out to you. We'll resend one." And so it took me 2 weeks to get this modem back, which should take 3 days. But I got that up and running. "Tanya, I've got a modem. I'm going. We can actually get this stuff going. We can link up again." I'm in an energy circle, or sorry, just a one-on-one energy with a friend of mine, and we're doing this energy healing. And we'd done one a couple of weeks ago about when the day before actually the modem went and the thing, and I'd missed something in the energy healing. And anyway, I said, we've got to do this. We've got to actually find the root cause. So we did this great energy healing together, and we're sort of pulling the ball in, and we get to the stop where we just go, and my phone down on the floor with my shoes starts ringing, not a little bit loud, like scared the crap out of both of us. I'm like, "Oh, hang on, that's my phone. How can that be my phone? It doesn't ring." And she's like, "Your phone doesn't ring." So we went over and I messaged, it was my sister, that "I'll call you back later." And yeah, anyway, somehow after 2 weeks, my phone just works again as well.
Yeah.
And then Tanya's today going, "Oh, my modem's fixed." It's just like
Yeah, my hard drive.
hard drive,
And it
sorry,
was
hard drive. Yeah.
it was literally like a day apart that your
Yeah.
internet went and the hard drive on my computer went. And I did actually sit down with Spirit and I was like, what is going on? And they felt that some delay was required. And I think that some of that was for me to experience, I think, the teachings so that we have more to talk about. And also for me to have a pretty epic temper tantrum
Oh,
about it.
and
Yeah.
even I mean, I know you're the experienced girl, but in those 2 weeks, actually having something taken out of from you that you use. And like, it's just the internet, but it's not just the internet. For me, it's
It's your
my work,
connection to
it's
other
my
people.
connection. That's right. Um, and I had a day where I'd got off the phone for another 3 hours from Telstra. The guy had actually, this is hilarious. I didn't tell you this. The guy actually had said to me, "You sound emotional." And I said,
Oh, really?
"Yeah." I said, "I am."
Oh, am I bringing too much emotion to your logic? Excuse.
But hang on.
Okay, mansplaining. Anyways,
I said to him, "I just need my internet back." I said, "My son had to actually leave my house. He had an exam for uni, so he had to drive 6 hours because he couldn't do his online exam where we were. And so, I said, he's coming back. This has been 10 days. It's been ridiculous. So I am upset about it." And he said, "Emotions are an unnecessarily part of life. You need to shut them down." And he said, "My father is very strong and very wise. And he told me that as a young child. And now that's what I do. You can go through everything hard if you don't have emotions. My mother is a very weak person. When I went to uni in Australia, because he was from India, she cried and she didn't want me to go. She was very weak and she needs to learn to be strong. So I'm going to be like my father. And if that's the best advice I can give you is have no emotions." And it was so interesting because I just done this whole piece on where emotions sit with both the subconscious and the conscious, and the importance and the gift that we get given in our conscious, in our human body, to actually be given emotions. Because if you don't feel pain, you don't feel love. Like, this guy is going to go through life without that. And I got off the phone and I thought, do you know what? As frustrating as this whole Telstra thing is, this internet thing is, that was really important and really sad to hear in some way, that there's a whole bunch of people going around just shutting off their emotions because
yeah,
it makes them stronger, you know, and everything that we've found in times in life, especially if we look back at our first series. One of the things we spoke about that you said was you went on a hike with someone and you were in all this pain, and you realized later that the strength wasn't in pretending you were okay. It
yeah,
was actually
in the
saying, "I'm not
vulnerability.
okay." And,
Yes.
it was really interesting because that emotional part that reflects in what we this new piece thing also goes back. And I think this is what this new piece does. It starts looking back on your life and you start clicking in all those bits that
Yes.
that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Which is interesting because I can't remember if it was on this or off camera when we were having a quick chat before we came on. You talked about it being the puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
And that's what it does, exactly what you just said. And that's what it's been doing for me. I go back and I go, oh, that makes sense. Oh, that makes sense. And you had also, but it's like the pieces going click, click, click,
Yeah.
click, click, like a puzzle.
Yeah.
The pieces, like, we actually have a full picture now. That's how I feel. I feel like I have a way bigger picture. I was going to say something else. I can't remember.
I
It's
think
gone.
that I think that the to me, those who know that there's new pieces all the time in their life are the ones that are going to bring new understandings and new things. Once we think that we knew it all, is where we're so narrow-minded, because I know that my puzzle is about this big at the moment, but the world puzzle is beyond what I'm ever going to know. And
Right.
so I see our role as one foot in both worlds. The reason we've been given these new pieces is because for a lot of people, these pieces of the puzzle are really important to their life now and how they move forward, and for us as well. And so it's like it's taking the time to embrace and see where this piece fits in your puzzle. And sometimes it might be hard. It's like that black piece, that there's a
Yeah.
thousand black pieces and you're just like, I don't know where it's going to fit. But hold on to it, because you'll find a bit where you get a lot more done, and then you'll go, oh, or the bit that's got red on it, and you're like, I'm pretty sure there's no red in this puzzle at all. And then you get 90% through it and you're like, oh, hang on, He had red on his hat. Where was that piece with a little bit of red? You know?
Exactly.
And so it might not make sense now, it might make sense in a week or a year or 2 years, but hold on to the piece and hold on to be open to the understanding. Because as you said, you know, we are both fairly strong intuitives, like very strong intuitives, yet we learnt from this. And I
Oh,
think
100%.
yeah, and I think, you know, I listen to, I don't do enough of it, to be honest, because I have so much in my own head that I'm listening to. But when I do listen to other, you know, intuitives that I like, or even just podcasts on interesting topics, I always pull a little piece that goes back into my life
Yes.
somehow, and I'm open to that change and that understanding. I'm open to having the wrong piece in too. You know, you've got a piece and it's fine, and then you get a new piece and you're like, oh crap, that piece doesn't fit. So you pull the piece out and put it in, and then that goes up here now. Like when we're doing the puzzle analogy, I think that ability to not be so frustrated and let these pieces just pop in is a lesson for all of us, because both of us were
Yeah,
frustrated by this, which is good
very.
too. You know, I spoke to you just before we got on how when I got off the phone from Telstra one of the times, I just got really upset. I was like, stuff this. My husband came in, he's like, calm down, you know, let's think about it logically and don't get so upset about it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, this is my time to be in my conscious. This is time to embrace those emotions that guy told me I shouldn't have. Like part of my process is
Yes.
just to be annoyed about it, to be in my body, to
Yes.
have half an hour of a cry and a cup of tea, like, you know, over internet. But you know, if you don't try and think about it being like I'm just crying over internet, I'm not. It's more than that. I'm crying because
Yes.
I'm out of control in this part. I'm lost in this area. I'm whatever it is. It's bigger than what that thing was. But that little incident in your life is the tool that gets you the ability to just unblock and unstick that energy so you can go, okay, now I'm fine. Like,
Hmm.
you know, and
Hmm.
I think that's important.
There was a piece to the download that was really interesting because it talked about frequency, and I don't know why they're bringing this to me right now, but there's been a bit of an idea in the spiritual teachings that having negative emotions lowers your frequency, and it's interesting when you talk about the new piece because it I've never resonated with that teaching, but it doesn't say that at all.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely
it
doesn't.
absolutely says feel all the feels.
Yeah,
That raises your vibration.
yeah, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
thought that was really cool.
A-
So
And they
do
show me
you
just then a
oh, my
funeral and a
apologies.
wedding, right? A funeral and a wedding. Like both of those things raise our energy. Like the energy at both of those is really high.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's both spectrums of everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
It's it's awesome. It's awesome. Again, huge kudos to you, Nettie, and thanks for putting up with my little temper tantrums. Um, I do want to say one more side piece is that I actually almost quit. Like I was that annoyed. I was like, I was kind of like a little toddler that was like, fine, I'm not eating my dinner. But I was crying. I was like, Spirit, like, come on, man. Like, want to be the example. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for any of this. And you're like, I haven't asked for this either.
You don't give credit enough to yourself for your amazing abilities. And I think sometimes you need to, you know, because it is really simple for you to just be intuitive. And when we do get together, we both do get to a level that's heightened. I think it's almost like being on a drug and then you get off and you're like, oh, you know, I want more of that. But I think just in our everyday life, it's so seamless that you don't realize. I mean, you do, but I think then you reflect back and go, I want more. Like, you know,
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
want what she's got, you know,
yeah.
give me the ice cream. But then I do the same back to you. Like I look at it and I just think, oh, wow, the way you tackle life, that your amazing mediumship ability to just sit with the client, to be able to turn it on and off. And we talk about that in this thing is the ability to be able to turn that on and off. And I think there's a reason why we have different techniques and different ways of doing that. And there's a time in your life where where you might go, okay, I want this on most of the time rather than on and off. But one foot in both worlds. If we said this from the very start, if you went in the way I walk around in life, in your career, I wouldn't survive.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, and so you've had to do that. And as you get to the end of your policing career, when that happens, you might find that that changes too. So yeah. So, I think all of us listening, we have to take it for what it is for us, not for what it is for someone else. And that's
It's the truth.
really, yeah, that's really hard to
Hmm.
do. I can't wait till we come back. Actually, we're going to post the videos up now so that you can watch those. But and I'm heading to Vietnam and we've
I'm so
got
excited for you.
yeah, and then we've got Christmas and holidays, but we are going to try and come back because one of these videos in particular made Tanya want to throw the table up. Okay, but we'll talk about the end. And the reason I don't want to tell you which one it is now is because then you put some pre-thought into someone's mind that they're going to do the same. So listen to
Uh,
them all. And as we said, you may not feel that in the same way, but there might be a piece of the puzzle that actually hits you in a new way. And it gets your spirit going. It gets your energy going in the thing. And it's usually where you have to get back into balance, and that feeling of off balance is just not fun. Um,
yeah,
and it's probably because in that era you had so much um, pieces to collect that it was the puzzle that was going to put into everything else that you knew and were aware of.
yes,
So the energy associated with that was huge. And so you're like, you don't know why, but it's like, ah, you know. So
that
we'll talk about
is
that.
so true.
Yeah. It's probably the closest, it's probably the most significant that you were 99.9% at that point. And it was just like, "Doop," and you're like,
Yeah.
shit, now everything makes sense.
And
Like,
why didn't I know this before? So that's the part that makes me angry because it was like, had I understood this, I would have had an easier time with a lot of things. However, I recognize now doing this podcast that I was supposed to have all of those experiences so that I can be a teacher and I can bring the examples and all of that. And when we get to the one after these videos, we will explain all of this and you'll know
yeah,
why I had my experiences, and Nettie's an experiencer here too. Why she's had life work out the way it has for her and her experiences. It's absolutely fascinating. But that was the part that had me be like, I'm done.
yeah.
Like, I know, like, no thanks. And then I went to bed and I slept for like 10 hours and I got up and then spirits like, you know, and yeah, so I appreciate everybody, especially you, Nettie, having patience with my temper tantrums, but that's what they are.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
love it. I love the energy. I appreciate the connection
Yeah,
that we get together. So this is
yeah,
awesome. Mm.
yeah. Okay, so with that said, I cannot wait for everybody to watch this. Nettie did an absolutely beautiful job. Perhaps maybe a bit of up and down. I hope this makes sense to you. If it doesn't, please, please, please comment in the videos. We will absolutely take those suggestions and make a video or talk about it on the podcast or whatever to make things clear for you. Two, we also get that information kind of from other people like around us that just sort of direct message us. So yeah, I can't wait. I'm super looking forward to it. So like, subscribe, follow, and we cannot wait to go on this journey with all of you. Thank you so much for being here.